Kukui here with a few more Sparked entries for ya. I realize nobody's really talking about Sparked anymore because we're all just so excited for the new pack, which I am super stoked about. It's really nice to see the Sims community actually excited about an upcoming pack. I feel like EA did pretty good on this one. We'll see once we start actually playing it if it holds up, but it does look really good. I am really excited. I am preparing an LP, so look out for that. The Sparked challenge is now closed, although I think voting continues for at least a few more days. So if you guys could go out and give these a like, that would be really appreciated. I'll link to all the different gallery pages in the underbar for these creations. Starting with this unicorn that I made. I think this is probably my worst one, honestly. I didn't quite know exactly what I was doing. Like, I got the idea to make a unicorn in human form, and I was really stoked about it. It got me thinking about The Last Unicorn, which I read at the beginning of this year and just fell in love with. It is a gorgeous book. I haven't seen the movie. I know a lot of people grew up on it, but I just missed that one somehow. But I probably should have based my unicorn off of the unicorn in the movie so that she was more iconic, and I don't know. Like, I'm okay with it. I liked the, like, white skin and the purple eyes, and I love unicorns. I actually dreamt about a unicorn last night. It was really cool. I saw this, like, golden unicorn go, like, galloping across this garden, and I was in a big group, and no one else saw it, and so I, like, went running and led the group, was like, look, I saw a unicorn. And when we got there, it was like a miniature pony wearing, like, a fake horde. And I was like, okay, I swear that's not what I saw. And I don't know, it was a funny dream. But I have such a deep love of unicorns and unicorn lore, and The Last Unicorn did the concept just brilliantly. It's a really powerful book with some gorgeous imagery and writing. I probably should watch the movie, but I don't do well with book to movie adaptations. I'm very, very critical of them, and I did watch Lost in Adaptation did an episode on The Last Unicorn, and I feel like they left out, like, literally all of my favorite parts of the book, so it didn't make me really excited to go out and watch the movie, even though the animation is beautiful, I will say that. I'd be interested to hear if any of you guys have seen the movie, if you've read the book, what you think of it. It's a great story, and yeah, this cast was inspired by that, but I went very, very simple. There weren't a lot of ways to make, like, something that was obviously a unicorn, so just went kind of with a plain concept. I think she came out interesting. Next we have a Krampus, or the Krampus. I guess there's only one Krampus? I actually don't know the Krampus myth super well. Like, I understand the concept of the character of Krampus, but I've never, like, seen any movies based off of it. I've never read any stories. Like, I've kind of noodled around online and read a little bit, and I've seen, like, there's a Krampus festival where, like, everybody gets together and dresses up like Krampus, and they do, like, a parade or something, and it's all very creepy. I feel like I found out about Krampus through the game Don't Starve, because there's a karma tally in that game, and if you get really low karma, Krampus shows up and, like, steals your stuff. I don't know, I've never actually got really low karma in the game, I just know that that's a thing that can happen. But I was intrigued by the concept of Krampus, and I had a lot of fun making him. I went with the, like, gray skin, and he's supposed to have, like, goat legs and really cool horns. And I actually got the Star Wars pack partly with the intent of getting the horns to make Krampus, but they just didn't look right. So I wound up going with the Santa outfit instead, which doesn't, like, super make sense, but he is, like, the anti-Santa. And I feel like having him dressed as Santa is just really creepy, because, you know, that imagery is so positive, but then you put it with that, like, creepy face and those fangs, and I don't know, it's just such a, like, twist on something so positive, and that really is the idea of Krampus. So I liked the look. I had a lot of fun just making him as, like, creepy and scary as possible. I really wanted to give him, like, long fingernails and things like that. And there's just so little we can do with that. I feel like we have so much control over the face in Sims, and then there's not a lot for bodies. Like, we don't have body hair, and we don't have fingernails, and I don't know, it's really frustrating. I feel like Sims bodies all look kind of the same. Like, you can change the color, and you can change how, like, the size of things, but we can't add like interesting details. Like you can't do freckles on the arms and things like that. Like I wish we had more detailing there. I've really found that doing these Sparked challenges, interestingly enough, is what's made me kind of discontent with what we have. Doing Sparked challenges has made me really cut back on my CC. Even when I'm playing by myself, I don't use a lot of custom content anymore. But I do start to miss things like the fingernails, and I don't know. I'm not one of those who's like super discontent with Sims 4 and complains about it all the time and compares it to Sims 3, which was, you know, the perfect Sims game. Like, I'm so not that way. Sims 4 is better in a lot of ways, but there are times when I see things that really could have been improved upon, and hopefully will be, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future of Sims. Anyways, next I really got into making D&D characters. I mentioned in my first episode of Sparked Cast that I was going to do this. I just love Dungeons & Dragons, and it is a great place to turn for different types of creatures, and I had to make a goblin. Goblins are my favorite mythological creature. I just find them so much fun. They're so interesting because they're often relegated to just like the XP monsters, right? Like you kill them off for a little bit of XP and some loot, and that's the only reason goblins exist. But I feel like they can be so interesting with their like culture, and I don't know, I find them really fun to play as. My last D&D campaign, I played as a goblin, and I actually wanted to make her, but her skin tone doesn't exist in The Sims. She has like goldenrod yellow skin, and she's super short. All goblins are short by human standards, and so it's hard to make a goblin in Sims because I'm like, I want her to be shorter. But I really needed that for my D&D goblin for some reason, so I didn't wind up making her. I really wanted to make a cute goblin because I just find that really fun, and like my D&D goblin is really cute, and I'm writing a book that has this group of goblins who like turn against the villain and try to join the heroes, but are culturally very different and are really in it for their own people and want to sort of establish goblin rights and make goblins more on equal footing with humans. And one of them is just this absolutely adorable goblin, and she gets a really cute like love story with a goblin named Hug. His name is not Hug, but his name is unpronounceable by humans. It's like like back in the throat in a way that humans just can't do. And so they all call him Hug, and it makes him mad. And then Star Wars did that. I was so mad. Poe called Hux Hug, and I was like, hey, that's my joke. You stole it. Anyways, I have this really cute goblin named Shosa, and I wanted to make her, and I was going with like pink hair and just this really like cutesy look, and that's not how she turned out at all. I eventually wound up changing the hair from pink to black and just going with a really different vibe, and that often happens to me in casts where I'll set out with something really specific in mind and the sim will turn out totally different, and I just go with it. It's how I write my books too. I always like kind of have a plot in my head, and then as I start writing, my characters are like, nah, that's ridiculous, and they run off in their own direction, and I just follow them, and it tends to make for better writing. I don't know if it makes for better casts. I feel like it did. I'm really happy with how my goblin turned out. I feel like she has this really like fierce, tough vibe, but also this very like maternal vibe. There's something about her that she would be like the strict motherly figure in the quest group who like kept everybody on task and made sure everybody was like eating properly, and just I think she would be a really, really fun character in like a D&D campaign or in a book. Like I just kind of fell in love with her. I think she's really, really awesome. I had a lot of fun with her clothes, and I gave her a tattoo, which I don't play with tattoos very often. I would never get a tattoo for many reasons. I'm terrified of needles, and it's against my religion, and like I'm just not a fan of tattoos for me personally, and so I always forget to give them to my Sims. But I wound up, when I started making D&D characters, for some reason that just fit with tattoos, and so I wound up giving quite a few of them tattoos. And I liked it on my goblin. I gave her like a nose ring, and I think she came out really interesting, and she has a very defined character. I also made her a kleptomaniac, because when I play Dungeons & Dragons, I literally always play as a rogue, and whenever we're in like a town, like just like getting stuff, all my questing companions are off being all innocent, I just like pickpocket my way through the crowd. It's so much fun. So I had to make her a kleptomaniac, and she would definitely be the rogue of the group, and I think she's cool. I love goblins, okay? Next, I made a furbolg, I'm not even sure I'm saying that right. This is when I just started flipping through the D&D player's manual. I say flipping through, but I was actually looking on a website. Flipping through just sounds cooler. Like, I have D&D player's manuals just lying around. I do actually have some somewhere, but they're from very classic D&D. I actually grew up on, like, not quite the first edition of D&D, but really old school. Like, I always played as a halfling, and we had very limited races and classes. And then I started playing with people outside of my family, and, like, I was in this questing group where I was a halfling rogue, and then we had, like, a mechanical golem, a dragonborn, a shapeshifter. And I'm like, I'm literally just a halfling. Because I'd never played with all those, like, weird, funky races. So I don't actually know that much about furbolgs, but I thought they looked really, like, cute. This is where I really wanted body hair, though. This is where I got really mad that we don't have it. Because I thought we did. I don't make male Sims very often, and so I don't, like, mess with body hair. So I thought it was there because it was in Sims 3. But no, we do not have it. So my furbolg doesn't look right because they're quite hairy. They have, I don't know, kind of an interesting look. They kind of have almost a cow look about them. Like, they've got the big ears and the flat nose. And I don't know, they're kind of reminiscent of cows, but they're also, like, forest giants. They tend to be druids. But they mostly live in the mountains and, like, keep to themselves. And I wanted to make this really, like, gentle giant-like character. And I think he came out really, really cute. He does remind me a little bit of the elves from Onward. Just the big ears and the blue skin. I suddenly was like, wait, I'm making an elf. I mean, he doesn't have, like, the blue hair and stuff, so he's not totally a character from Onward, but he did remind me of that. Again, this is where I started playing with tattoos and stuff, and I think he came out just really cute. I think he has a very soft, sweet vibe. I sent a picture of him to my friend, and she's like, he looks like a Hufflepuff. And I was like, yes, that is what I was going for, so I think his vibe got across. Next, I made a tiefling. This is another one I'm not super familiar with. I really need to watch Critical Role, because whenever I, like, talk about D&D with people, they bring it up, and everybody loves Critical Role, and I've just never watched it. It's been on for so long that I feel like I have so much catching up to do, but I've heard it's a really fun show, so I should watch that. But I follow a D&D page on Facebook that just posts, like, D&D memes, which is really depressing, because I can't find a group to play D&D with. I did a little bit with, like, my friend has this D&D group, and I played with them once, but they haven't talked about playing again, and I have this insecurity of, like, maybe they just don't want me in their group. I don't know. I need to learn to DM so I can play with my friends. But I follow this group on Facebook, and they post about tieflings a lot. I think it's a very popular player race right now. They're part, it's not demonic, but it's similar to demonic, where they have, like, their ancestry is otherworldly and probably evil, although not all tieflings are evil. I am really, really happy with how my tiefling came out. Again, I was disappointed that we don't have big horns. I really wanted horns while making creatures, but I wound up with this headpiece thing from the Journey to Batu pack, and it just worked. Like, it suddenly came together. I absolutely love his outfit and the tattoos and just his vibe and the creepy black eyes. I hope that, like, people who do actually, like, play with tieflings and are familiar with the tiefling race would see him and think tiefling. I'm not sure you would, just because, again, I don't have cool horns, but I think he came out really cool. He has a cool vibe. I actually wanted to play as him. I almost played as him for my Journey to Batu playthrough, since I'm joining the rebels, not the rebels, the scoundrels. And I just felt like he would, like, fit with that storyline. This is another character that I think would be a rogue or something along those lines. Definitely chaotic neutral. He's not evil. I didn't want to go with an evil tiefling because that felt too obvious and too, like, judgmental of tieflings. I'm like, no, he's not full evil, but he's not full good either. He's just kind of playing by his own rules, which is always how I play D&D. Like, chaotic neutral means never having to say you're sorry, and I just believe in that. I think this is my favorite one I made for the creature challenge. Like, overall, all the ones I did, the tiefling is my favorite. And finally, I made an Asimar? I don't know how to pronounce this one. Once again, I'm making races I'm not super familiar with. It just makes me want to play D&D so bad. I need a really good group. But Asimars are really similar to tieflings, except that their ancestry is, like, deities rather than demons. They have, like, I don't know what the, like, religious... This is all from Pathfinder, which I've never played, but basically, like, angels rather than demons are their ancestry. And I wound up going very, like, paladin with this. Once again, I didn't want to go the obvious route of like, he has angels in his ancestry, so he must be good, but I kind of wound up there with this very like straight-laced, but very serious. I sent a picture of him to my friend too. I kept sending Lady Violet all my ones when I was done, because she's my supportive friend and I appreciate her very much. But her response to seeing him was, he's pretty. And I'm like, yes, that is what I was going for. Asimar are meant to be much more attractive than humans, but kind of intense. I showed him to my mom too, and she's like, why is the angel one scarier than the demon one? Something about like those all white eyes really creeped her out, but I'm really happy with how he came out. I think he's really cool and very intense, and he's another one that I look at him and I just feel like I can see a character there. I've just got to do a D&D campaign and play as all of these characters. I need to be writing is what it really is. I haven't written in a long time because of many varying things going on in my life, and I think I'm really missing that like creative expression, and I'm ready to get back to it, maybe. But I just had so much fun with all of these characters. This challenge was so inspiring to me. I could not stop making them, although I did eventually. The Asimar is the last one. We are done, and I'm just really glad that the Spark challenges exist. I had so much fun doing this. So that was my unicorn, Krampus, Goblin, Furbolg, Tiefling, and Asimar. Let me know which one was your favorite. And of course, let me know if you did anything for the Spark Challenge. I would really love to check it out. I promise that next time I will do something other than Sparked. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next episode.